It is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Village of North Hudson Plan Commission, Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. Roll call, please, Jessica.
Members Anderson,
Present.
Bachman,
Present.
Howard, absent. Chair Miser,
Here.
members Mitchell.
He's here.
He's trying to be here.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
here. Sorry.
Schneider,
Here.
Wecken,
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. First item of business, approval of the meeting minutes from last month of February 17th, 2021.
I move that we approve them.
Is there a second? Someone.
I second.
You second.
Okay. Any corrections, additions? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the meeting minutes of February 17th, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes have been approved. Okay, the first real item of business, a concept plan for a possible 3-lot minor subdivision at 642 Galahad Road, pin 161-1060-95-000, discussion only. So we have some letters here from Paul Goodwin. They want to split up a big lot into 3. We'd seen a little bit of it once before. Kevin had reviewed it one additional time and he said everything looks good. Brian Wirt also recommends approval, I believe. Oh, that's the wrong one. Never mind. Does anybody have any other comments about, I know the flag lot came up last time.
Right.
One thing he does say in his letter is they made it a 50-foot width, the entire part of the flag, to have lots of room. Kevin, do you have any comments on the flag lot?
Yeah, so technically there isn't anything in the ordinance that allows for flag lots, but if you remember the Artisan North development, which came in, I'd say about 3 years ago, that particular development did have a flag lot also, so there is somewhat of a precedence that the village has allowed that in the past. So same scenario here, 50 foot wide. So that does meet your ordinance requirement of a width, minimum street width. So in my eyes, everything's being met in regards to the village's ordinances.
Do you have any recommendations on the road coming in on this flag portion for emergency vehicles or materials, or how wide it should be, if there should be a turnaround, anything like that?
You know, it's basically going to be considered, in my eyes, just a single family residential home. So just a standard, width driveway is what I would envision. I don't see this parcel ever developing in again. I believe that's what they are, the property owner is looking at, not ever subdividing this again. So just one parcel, one residential home.
Okay, and if they tried to split it in the future, they would have a mess with the flag lot part of it, and they'd have to discuss it with the plan commission at that time.
Right. Yeah.
So then it would come back, because I mean, it seems quite a large lot to just have a single family home. I guess it looks like it possibly could be developed, maybe 2, 3, I don't know, 4 homes. What's the thought on that? Like, would the flag lot still be okay? Or, I don't see them. Nobody's just gonna put a house on 4 acres, right?
They might.
Yeah.
I would.
I would, if I had the ability to do it.
Well, yeah, I would too.
Maybe Paul can answer this. Can we put a condition on this particular lot that it cannot be subdivided?
Not if it's, if it meets the code down the road, someone can come back in. But they're gonna have to go through the process. You're gonna have to look at access on a public road at that time, and you're gonna have some discretion.
So
Yeah.
what would be the discretions that we'd be looking at with this flag lot and a multi-lot being back there?
Well, it's not gonna be a flag lot then. It's gonna be a public road access to how someone's gonna develop that middle portion,
Or private road access.
or private road access, yeah.
Right.
Right.
But then as the former comment came up, you're gonna have to look at emergency vehicles, you're gonna have to look at, some sort of turnaround or cul-de-sac in there. They're gonna have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, wasn't there something about 150 feet for driveway or something, Kevin? Do you remember for emergency vehicle?
Oh,
Or was
gosh.
that had to do with a cul-de-sac?
Yeah, I don't remember that right offhand, Mary.
You know what? I don't either, and I didn't think to look it up until right now.
Yeah, if they do truly decide to, subdivide this into additional lots, and it's, if it was going to be considered as a public roadway, then the minimum width requirement is 60 feet.
Yeah.
So they would have to acquire some property off of lot 1 for that to actually transpire.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how many feet? 60?
Yeah, 60 is the minimum right away width.
Well, actually, conceptually, I really like this for this particular parcel. As you can tell, the only concern is in the future if it gets that big parcel flag lot gets subdivided, or they want, the potential owner wants to subdivide it. But other than that, I'm happy with this.
Well, then what you're saying is maybe one thing they might consider if they had any inkling of this is narrow lot 1 and 2 by 5 feet each, so they have the extra 10 feet for a 60-foot flag for a future road if they think they might ever subdivide this. Was that a true, fair statement?
No, I wouldn't recommend that at all.
Mm-mm.
Would you take 5 from the north or 10 from the north or 10 from the south? I mean, I was wondering that if they could work with the neighbors and take 5 and 5.
Nope, I think right now, this is a concept plan, and I think it looks good the way it is.
Yeah, it does
I
look good.
agree with you, Mary.
Okay.
But to bring up in the future, if this is to be divided and any kind of multi-dwellings being up there, what would these said people, I mean, great concept, but what happens next?
Well,
So
then
like-
they'd have to bring it back and
Yeah, of course.
Rezone.
And as Paul and Kevin said, go ahead, Paul.
I think, it appears to be because of the width of that flag lot, they're not intending it to be a public road in the future. And I think that's sort of the idea, to just have one private residence back there.
Yeah.
And certainly that's something that the Plan Commission, looks at when people come in with these concepts, if this was 66 feet or 60 feet, then I think it would raise more questions as, what's your intention back there? But being that it's 50 and it's not going to meet the public road standards, that's going to limit their ability to move forward in the future.
And like you said, Gene, that's a plus, having a big lot.
yeah, I would.
Right.
I don't think I could afford that, but
Okay.
So I guess I have one question. If they were to build a multi-living unit back there off of one road, what's the contention on that then? Like, what happened if they built condos back there?
They would have to go through the rezoning process because it's all zoned single family right now.
Right.
So
So basically, this is a pretty good concept for a single family home back there, and
Yeah.
anything else they would have to do a lot more. Okay.
Come back to us again.
It
correct.
looks like the map was, the picture was taken before all the trees were cleared out, though. And the house is gone too, isn't it? But it's a good concept plan. I like it.
Okay.
Hi, this is Paul Goodwin calling in. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Oh, hi.
Paul.
My line was muted before, so I had to call back in. So I'll just give you just a quick background. I mean, our family is going to be on the other side of Galahad for 30 years or more. And so our goal is to keep this looking as green as we can. And so that's why we went with the low density. And one other consideration that we would want to put in front of you now that could change for the final one is that we might want to have some sort of like green buffer or an easement on the frontage in Galahad, not for the flag lot, obviously, because there's a driveway there, but for the other two lots, we might want to have like 20 feet or something like that beyond east of the power lines where there'd be a green buffer. And that would just be a private easement for both of those lots. And if we did that, the lots would be then possibly a little bit deeper than what they're shown here. So they'd be a little larger. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. So you're basically saying you want to give the buildable area, or not buildable, but the area that they can actually work with. You want to maintain that at the 0.84, 0.85 acres. And with that easement, you'd have to shift,
Yes.
add
Shifted
another
east.
20 feet to the back of those lots.
That's right.
Okay.
And the only other open point, and I don't know if this is but we might consider combining those two lots into one, the ones that are fronting Galahad. Does that present an issue or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I know sometime back we went through and changed something so that we could take one lot and turn it into two with the same owner.
Yeah.
Bill Gilbert did that some years ago.
So these lots then or just the front two lots will have municipal sewer and water, and the flag lot won't?
The flag lot should. We spoke to Zappa a couple months ago, and they didn't see an issue with sewer getting to the back of the lot.
Yeah.
But I can check with them and see again.
Okay.
Okay.
It would just be a longer lateral is what it would amount to. The depth of the sewer out in Galahad should be deep enough to actually serve the flag lot also. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other, I mean, just given our interest in keeping it relatively low density, I mean, I could talk to an attorney and see if we could work out on the flag lot, because we're doing the 50 feet. I don't know if we could have a private kind of covenant to just not subdivide in the future. We'd be happy with that too.
Okay.
I don't know if that's possible legally, but our interest is not to ever have a public road there, a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Thank you.
And it says
Yes.
it's on our agenda that we're just discussing only. And this will next month when the village board meets, one of us, me or somebody, will just we'll just discuss with the village board what we discussed. And if Paul's there to call in and also say these things, we'll pass that on.
Yep, I should be there.
Okay.
Do concept plans go before the village board?
Well, no, what I meant was I usually present a plan commission chair update and say, here's what we talked about.
Well, yeah,
So I
yeah.
would mention that we talked about it because we have no action tonight. We have no vote or anything. Just we discussed it. We discussed it with the landowner, and those of us who've said an opinion said, sounds pretty good.
Yep.
Anyone see any negatives?
No.
Okay, so between Paul and myself, we'll pass that on to the village board. Any other questions for Paul Goodwin? Thank you, Paul.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item On the agenda, the Ridges third edition, the final plat, review and possible recommendation. Last meeting, I believe we had the second, whatever it's called, non-final one.
Preliminary.
Preliminary.
Second preliminary, thank you. So the letter from Brian Wirt, he recommended approval. Kevin, you're here, you recommended approval, or you didn't have any problem with it, is that what you said?
Yep, correct.
Okay. And we discussed it in depth. Does anybody have any questions, comments on this?
No, we're still sure that the sidewalk's gonna be on the west side of Alta.
Yeah, so as part of their submittal, they did include updated construction plans, and it does show it all along the westerly side of Alta.
Okay, thank you.
They did make that change.
Okay, wonderful. Let's see.
In the last plan, in the last meeting on this, there was a resident who was really concerned about a particular tree along the edge of the property. Did they come, did Derek say they were gonna do anything in particular about that tree, or?
My understanding is they have been out there and staked that northern property line boundary. And I believe either Ron or Kip's online, and they can share what they found out on the tree itself, the one that was in discussion. I believe it ended up being that it was on their parcel, the bigger oak tree that was discussed at some length.
Was on the private landowner's parcel?
It was actually on the Derek's.
Oh, it was, okay.
So, but
Okay.
yeah, they did mark out the northern property line, like, you know, one of the conditions that was in the approval. So
I'm sure they'll try to save trees when they can, because land with trees is worth more.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I wanted to go up there and look at it, but it's a pretty steep, treacherous area. But I mean, if I noticed that none of the neighbors are in on this meeting, so I was hoping that some of them would say that, showed up and showed recognition that flags were put out and they can see what they have. I mean, I understand that they wanted to protect a 200-year-old oak tree. And anytime you dig anywhere near them, anything can happen. But I mean, that's the price of development, and that's the price of having a tree that's big and beautiful on a lot line. You might lose them. So.
Okay. Any other comments on the final plat? If not, I believe our job would be to possibly recommend to the village board whether we approve of it or not. Does anyone have a motion?
Say as move to approve as recommend or as presented.
Okay.
As presented.
I'm trusting you, Kevin, on this one with the construction stuff.
Yep. It won't be too long, it sounds like, probably in April they'll be starting.
Okay.
Nice.
So is that your formal motion, Mary?
My formal motion to approve the Ridges third edition final plat as presented.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. I don't even. Voice should be fine. All in favor of approval of the final plat of Ridges third edition, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Bachman, aye.
Is there any opposed? Nay. Okay, the motion is passed. Thank you. Is there any routine business? I talked to Jessica the other day. We don't have anything on the docket yet for an April meeting. So without anything else, I look for a motion for adjournment.
Well, is there an update on the
Okay.
on the lift approval?
Jessica, do you know, or Paul? At last month's village board?
Yeah, I mean, it was approved at the board, and I'm still working with Melissa and the chief in terms of the possible fines. It's just the mechanism to doing it. The chief and the fee schedule was not set up to include any of those types of fines. So we're working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have anything else? We'll have a one-
I guess as long as those things are working through, but again, how is North Hudson? You know, I understand that the DNR, the state, but where is North Hudson at as a village when people do these things and that there's no repercussions and they can do them? How do we get to move on that? That there would be some kind of fine or repercussion that you can't go willy-nilly out and do these things because people are just going to do it because they know that there's no repercussions. So is that something that we bring to the board? And how does this work through and what does our lawyer think about that?
Well, the board's aware of it. We have to plug some holes into the ordinance and in the fee schedule to allow either the chief or the building inspector to issue the citation. The way it's set up now, you know, if you issue a citation, there's sort of a predetermined bond amount, or so to speak, that's set for those, and none of the zoning violations were set up that way. So that's what we're going to look at to try to establish, so that procedure is in place.
So we have to look at redoing some of these zoning formalities and everything else and work out more ordinances on that, or?
Well, you know, if you want to change the actual fine amount and put it in the ordinance, that would be one thing. You know, there's a general sort of a catch-all fine for any violation of the code that's in the code. But it's more just procedurally for the chief to issue the citation to get it in his system.
Okay.
Are they going to make these fines anything of significance so it does deter people? Because in a lot of cases, there's so much money involved that they paying a fine is just a formality, part
I
of
agree
a
with you,
business for
Tom.
some people.
I agree. Some people will just go do what they want to do and they pay
Yeah,
$500, $1,000 in fine. They don't care.
They
Well, if
look
you're
at
paying
fine more as
$75,000 for a lift, a couple grand is not a big deal.
That's exactly
I
right.
know.
well, especially if it saves you a couple months.
That's right. So how do we get eyes open on that, Paul?
Yeah, good point.
You know, it's going to be up to the board to set the amounts. Certainly part of it is education, you know, getting the people to know the rules. Some people, like you said, will ignore the rules.
And as part of our approval last month, and so there were some recommendations to bring that up, and Paul brought that up to the board. So it's in their court now.
Okay. As long as it's been brought up.
Yep. Anything else?
I move
Okay.
to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay.
Okay, well, everybody have a good weekend and week, and see you next time.